So, you want some more Mortal Kombat 1 in your life, or in this case, some more details on Noob Saibot's gameplay? Well, I got you covered. What's up? It's Dynasty back with some more MK1, MK1 content for y'all on this Thursday afternoon because Xbox.com just a few hours ago posted this Xbox Wire dubbed Mortal Kombat 1, how we reinvented classic combatants, Cyrax, Sektor, and Noob Saibot. And this actually goes really in depth with a lot of the design choices that were made when it came to actually creating the moveset and actual design of the characters that are going to be dropping in less than 2 weeks with the Khaos Reigns expansion. Now, obviously, last week we had a combat cast dedicated to both Sektor and Cyrax, but just 2-3 days ago, we got our very first glimpse of in-depth gameplay for Noob Saibot. So as of now, this article is the only thing really giving us any insight other than the trailer from a few days ago, because if I'm not mistaken, we still don't have word on if there's going to be a combat cast breaking down Noob Saibot's gameplay. I'm sure it's going to happen, but until then, I think this article is probably worthy of talking about. So if you're excited to get some more details about Noob Saibot's gameplay in MK1 from your boy, do me a solid, it takes you a second. Please drop a like on the video. I want to say thank you guys for still choosing me to be your go-to for everything Mortal Kombat 1. Without you, these MK videos do not happen. And again, we're less than 2 weeks away from the Khaos Reigns expansion being in our hands. So with that said, let's see what Xbox Wire had to say about, well, reinventing these classic combatants, Cyrax, Sektor, and Noob Saibot. So if you want to see this article yourself, I'll have it linked below. Kicking things off, it opens with this right here. Launching on September 24th, the Mortal Kombat 1 Khaos Reigns expansion is not just a massive drop of story, modes, skins, palettes, new and adjusted moves, bloody new brutalities, all new animalities, and other bits, chunks, and tweaks. It's also a reintroduction to 3 classic characters whose pedigree and backstories, both in and out of games, stretch back almost to the beginning of the Mortal Kombat universe. Yes! Khaos Reigns brings back Cyrax, Sektor, and Noob Saibot, but with Mortal Kombat 1 establishing a whole new timeline for the series, they aren't quite as you remember them. Here's how we honored the history of these fan-favorite combatants while reinventing them for the new game. These fan-favorite yellow and red cyborg ninjas date back to Mortal Kombat 3 in 1995 and served as a change of pace from the typical ninjas and demigods that made up our roster previously. The appeal of the cyborgs has always been the way they mesh mechanized tools and more halting robotic movements with the martial arts of the Lin Kuei. Back in the day, they were 2 of the most fun and fearsome fighters from one of the most beloved and distinctive games of that arcade era. In subsequent entries, they've often returned, whether as fully fledged roster fighters like in Mortal Kombat 9 in 2011, represented as the mashup fighter Triborg back in Mortal Kombat X in 2015, or as story mode exclusive guests in Mortal Kombat 11, paying homage to the classic Mortal Kombat 3 forms. Cyrax and Sektor from the 90s arcade era already appeared in Mortal Kombat 1 as cameo fighters, ready to pop out and assist your main fighter on command. Now with Khaos Reigns, entirely new versions will round out their own roster slots, mixing up and referencing various versions along the way, but with many curveballs courtesy of the new era's leader, Fire God Liu Kang. The most important change, they're all human now. Instead of a marriage of man and machine, Cyrax and Sektor are all flesh and blood. In this timeline, neither of them is a cyborg, but they all admit conventional ninja training and the usual blades, bludgeons, and brawn with all sorts of advanced technology. Their styles, backstories, and allegiances are riffs on what you may remember. You want technological mind and mechanical ninja combat? You got it, but with a different finesse, heart, and wit than before. Gameplay-wise, advanced designer Michael Bellapani's focus for the reimagined cyber-assisted fighters was to harken back to various versions of both of them while putting new spins on things. Let us break them both down. Breaking down Cyrax. Cyrax is the quicker of the two, with an acrobatic fight style influenced by ninjutsu and enhanced by high-tech friction boots. Her tool deployment is less direct, she can ensnare foes and lay explosive traps for them, and can quickly relocate all over the battlefield, sandwiching the opposition between her location and her devices. Most of Cyrax's tricks come by way of her amazing sphere multi-tools, which are brimming with lethal functions. To add extra bite or oomph to several of her normal attacks, Cyrax keeps an orb tool in her hand, which can either be used as a set of blades or detonated in bomb form at point-blank range. Don't worry about her safety, that's what the suit's for. The orbs can also naturally be tossed as good old-fashioned timed explosives. In enhanced form, her orb devices zero in on the enemy before whirling the action with horrific spinning blades. Orbs can also be thrown directly at foes to burst open them with sticky, trapping foam, which I personally still do not like at all. From a design choice, I think the goop is kind of weird. When subterfuge is appropriate, a device can be detonated at Cyrax's feet. Am I reading this properly? I'm so sorry if I'm butchering any of these words. Creating a distraction as she flits suddenly behind her quarry. I feel like I'm back in English class. New screenshot of Cyrax facing off against Ermac, the buzzsaw. She could even toss out devices that do nothing, the perfect dirty trick to make a defender turtle up and expose themselves to mix-ups and throws. With some dexterous device struggling, Cyrax can keep several of these options in play and on field simultaneously, improvising temporary defenses and planning steps ahead on offense. And you'll just see how creative she can get with the orbs when the time to finish them fatefully arrives. From her suit's built-in features, Cyrax is most reliant on the high-tech friction skates on her feet. These work by jacking the surface coefficient of her footing way up or down, drastically affecting adhesion and repulsion properties on the fly. She uses this capability for effortless gliding and speed boost, rapid direction changes off walls, and to enable ensnaring kick attacks. A modern take on Cyrax's classic Mortal Kombat 3 air throw comes by way of this friction boot assist, and she'll be quite slippery to pin down in corners when she can spring off the wall over danger, when she's not just deceptively gliding right through it. If you haven't guessed it, she's a bit of a trickster, ready to play with her food as a hit-and-run keep-away artist. So boom! Definitely did not have to go through this entire description of Cyrax's moveset 28 times to get you the perfect recording, but you know what? Here we are. Breaking down Sektor. Cyrax's crimson-hued, somewhat awkward comrade in training, Sektor, is far more direct. Sektor is much more silent on the brute strength and futuristic ordnance capabilities of the Cyber Initiative's tech. Under the proverbial hood, Sektor is packing an assault helicopter's worth of guided and unguided explosives. On the ground, she can choose between dominating lateral space with rockets or launching more sophisticated targeted or homing missiles into arcing trajectories. In midair, she can release descending burst grenades that can be set off when desired. When enhanced, these airborne bomb droppings can be immediately followed up with more aerial attacks, leading to all kinds of possibilities. The cool thing about this article that has me questioning if I could even speak the English language is they're providing new screenshots in the midst of all the words. Add it all up and she's better armed from afar in terms of her sheer firepower than anyone else on the field. And that's before you consider that she's wearing a fortress. Where Cyrax's suit is adapted for agility and deception, Sektor's armor has all of its points pushed into power. If Sektor has enough warning against incoming threats, she can extend extra anti-projectile shielding. With perfect timing, she can retaliate immediately after one of her own projectile attacks just after deflecting a hostile shot. And shot deflections don't just give Sektor an opening to shoot back, they also energize her suit, powering up a couple of her strongest normal attacks. Being able to redirect unpredictably in mid-air is one of the strongest and most fun traits a character can have. This is good for Sektor because her suit's boosters effectively give her multi-jumps and flexible air combo extensions. That puts her in a position of power against other combatants who dominate the skies with irregular options like Ermac, Homelander, Natara, and Sindel. Thrusters also let her boost off from almost any position before slamming down behind the enemy. The suit's numerous thrusters and ports can also be seen adding boosting and scorching touches to many of Sektor's normal attacks, and when dialed up, considerably provides Sektor with a flamethrower special move. Would you like to bet that these features and more are demonstrated spectacularly in several ways throughout her high-energy fatalities? You would win that bet. Sektor does not favor the indirect approach, and she's not very susceptible to direct approaches either. She can wear down the opposition at long range, firing off her own salvos while absorbing the opponent's suit-boosted combos up close when the mood strikes. So, boom! 2 of the 3 described in this article. Again, essentially everything we saw explained in the combat cast from last week. Finally, though, we're making our way to Noob Saibot, and let me just say, this is probably the hardest screenshot I've seen of Noob so far. Looks pretty sick. I'm still warming up to the green and black color scheme, hoping we get some more purple down the line in the future. But with that said, Noob Saibot. A new interpretation of a generational villain also emerges from the shadows, or rather, with the shadows. Noob Saibot's first appearance was strictly as a deeply hidden secret foe all the way back in 1993's Mortal Kombat 2, where the player had to score dozens of wins in a row to find an entirely black silhouette. One reason for the abundance of palette swap characters in early Mortal Kombat games was simply because of economy. Everything had to fit onto arcade and console cartridges. Recoloring existing content was a low-impact way to add more stuff. Jade, Rain, Reptile, and Smoke also started out as simple recolorings before being fleshed out on their own merits later on. Legend has it Ermac belongs on that list too, but that's a story for another time. Alongside the ketchup and mustard flavored cyber ninjas, Noob Saibot is a major player in the expansive story of Chaos Reigns, where new era origins and motives are explored for all 3. Fittingly, in past incarnations, the secret fighter named after Mortal Kombat's co-creators, if you don't know, just read his name backwards, is usually depicted as a mindless pawn of a malevolent presence. Whether that's true in Chaos Reigns is not something we're going to spoil here, but come on, look at him. Noob Saibot is heavily cloaked, thoroughly armored, wearing blades on his fingers, and trailed by a roiling shadow that behaves independently. If he's not working towards evil goals, watch out for whatever is! Breaking down Noob Saibot, the shadow is core to Noob Saibot's whole identity in every way. He isn't just a grim-dark edgelord reaper type. Almost all of his moves are influenced by whether his shadow is present. That shadow can be cast underfoot or seen standing up on its own 2 feet and moving around, and it isn't just for looks, it's information. If Noob Saibot's shadow trails under him, waving on the floor like upside-down smoke, it's available for summoning, joining in to enable or amplify most of his kit. But a preoccupied shadow is an unavailable shadow. Some of Noob Saibot's moves simply aren't available without the shadow, and many are quite different compared to their shadow-backed versions. Using the shadow to your advantage becomes a constant dark dance of risk and reward. Now that sounds pretty interesting. Most of Noob Saibot's normal attack combos feature him and his shadow weaving past each other, taking turns pummeling the target. His throw is different with the shadow, and many shadow-assisted special moves are safer, farther reaching, and with more margin for error, and better follow-up opportunities. For reasons that will become clear in the events of Chaos Reigns, Noob Saibot can use a ghastly disembodied hand and an incantation called Embrace Chaos, which supercharges the ghostly energy pouring through him. This unique special move can only be used once per match. For a short interval, almost any shadow attack is even more powerful, usually producing effects unique to this buff state. There is a cost though. After the spell's short-lived effects expire, he will be completely without the help of the shadow for the rest of the current round. As a Noob Saibot player, pop Embrace Chaos and it's showtime. as a Noob Saibot opponent, stay calm and watch every angle. So the hand is essential. We've been talking about the weird hand on his waist for a few weeks now, and there you go. It will be a way to call out this Embrace Chaos move, which gives you a buff to his kit. Thanks to the conditional nature of lots of Noob Saibot's attacks, his move list is one of the largest in the game. A huge array of attacks means plenty of places to reference and embellish this fighter's history. The goal of advanced designer Aaron Davis was to pull as many pieces of Noob Saibot from different places together as possible, with a particular emphasis on the portal tumbling hijinks seen in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat 9 in 2011. But this doesn't mean that Noob Saibot should be taken as intimidating or overly complex to play. It's more that many of his moves have an escalation, with the best versions available during Embrace Chaos and lesser versions occurring when the shadow is gone. And who isn't stronger alongside a friend? As you can tell, we've put a huge amount of effort into recreating Cyrax, Sektor, and Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat 1, but even with all that work, they're just a piece of what's coming when the Chaos Reigns expansion launches on September 24th. So there you go. Full rundown of everything these characters have to offer. I feel like the Noob Saibot description was at least to the point. Glad to see that this shadow actually is a major part of his moveset. They do break down the fact that Cyrax is all about movement, and Sektor can do a bit of everything as well. She's kind of a tank. So there you go. There's our first breakdown of what we could expect from Noob Saibot. Like I mentioned earlier, the descriptions are pretty much on point for everything we've seen, dedicated to the cyborgs. But when it came to Noob, I had no idea what to expect. And even, you know, just watching the trailer, I feel like the emphasis on the shadow is there, but definitely not as much as it was this time around in this description. I don't know. I feel like the point definitely got a lot more across here than in the 3 minutes of gameplay, which really was just like a minute and 15 seconds of gameplay. So I'm hoping the next few days they can actually come out and give us another combat cast dedicated to Noob Saibot, because I do think the shadow being the meta for the character is a long time coming, a nice full circle moment, and I do think it actually gives him a unique playstyle, which is kind of what they're always aiming for. If they're going to bring back a character, they want them to feel special, and I do think that with him having his whole moveset just dedicated to, is the shadow in, is it out? It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool, and honestly, I'm not too overwhelmed at the thought of it. So, intrigued to see everything Noob Saibot has to offer. Again, if you guys want to see this Xbox Wire article, I have it linked down below. And I ask you this question: what do you think of Noob Saibot based on this gameplay description? Will you be looking forward to using him in a few weeks for Chaos Reigns? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, though, it takes you a second, please drop a like on it. Subscribe for some more MK content like this on the channel. Till next time, been your host, been Dynasty. Guys, please take care, stay safe. I love ya. See you in the next video. Peace.
Stepping on it crack, but I'm not superstitious. Count all these racks, I be steady, counting my digits. Stepping